MySims originally came out in 2007, with MySims Kingdoms coming out a year later in October of 2008. They're both developed by EA's Redwood Shores studio, and both were available in some form or another on the Wii and the DS, with MySims later releasing on Microsoft Windows and mobile phones. So a big thanks to the publisher for the review copy of MySims the Cozy Bundle. I've got to be honest, I'm quite surprised we haven't seen some iteration of The Sims on the Nintendo Switch. It just seems like the perfect platform. I can see why they've gone the MySims route, going for that mass appeal and ease of use. But how does it fare in 2024 on Nintendo's hybrid platform? Has the kingdom come, or will you be playing none? Well, my name's Mark Walker, welcome back to SwitchUp. Now let's find out. If you're unfamiliar with the Sims franchise, MySims took things in a little bit of a different direction. It focused on town building, chiefly through redeveloping a rundown town through building and customizing the various houses. Now, unlike the mainline Sims games, while you do build your house and design them to an extent, the shape and structure you go for has no bearing on what's inside. I remember being so disappointed as a kid because I was a massive fan of it on PC, and still to this day, I find it odd that you make these structures and then internally they're completely different. But if you've never played a Sims game, it's going to potentially feel quite standard to you if you've come from something like Animal Crossing. Before you do any of this, you will be designing your own character. There's not a great deal of choice, but I did like the way this was handled. You hover over certain items on the body to change them, just rotating through, and then giving them a name. You also have to name your town. Now, I am trying to restore glory to Essex, but you can call yours whatever you want. The game guides you through a simplistic tutorial, teaching you the basics of customization, getting different blueprints which you'll need for new buildings and furniture, and introduces you to essences. Now, you collect essences all over the game. Shake a tree and grab an apple and you'll have gained the apple essence. Catch a trout and, well, you'll get the fish essence. I'll tell you how that works in a little bit and where you use them, but it is actually quite a nice idea when it comes to customization. Now, not only can you customize your own building, you can also go to anyone else's and tweak the design. That's both external and internal. Internal layouts can't be changed, but you can redecorate. You can add new wallpaper, bring along your own furniture and just dish it out in their property, which is a little bit odd, isn't it? If you walked into someone's house and just pulled out a camping chair, they'd probably be like, what on earth are you doing? The creation system's quite detailed actually, compared to the other elements of the customization. You can rotate this space, either follow a blueprint using a ghost template, gradually building it up and then making prefab items, or you can make whatever you want, a little bit like Lego, clicking together a variety of different blocks and then texturing them, either with basic textures, or this is where those essences come in. You can take the old apple essence and apply it to something and it's going to go red, or you take the smiley face essence, stick it on your walls, and well, it does that. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I guess it's fun. If you played this on the Wii, then undoubtedly you'll be used to waving around that Wiimote, as it was called, to control the hand cursor, which is always present. But here you have to use the right analog stick, which was just a stupid choice. At least have both the options of using the right analog and the motion controls that the Nintendo Switch intrinsically has. On the flip side of that, there is full touchscreen support when you're playing in handheld, and if I was going to buy this, that would be the only way I play it. The reason being, when you're customizing things using the analog stick is just horrible. You know, when you just can't position it where you want and you end up going backwards and forwards and backwards to the point where you're borderline losing your mind. Well, sadly it does it, and there's no option to change the sensitivity of the joysticks. So that's a real negative for controls overall in a game that has you building and creating constantly. As I say, a complete non-issue when you're playing in handheld, although even then your big finger might get in the way of the precise detail and placement of an object. Gameplay wise, it's actually quite enjoyable and also equally relaxed. It feels a little bit like a watered down Animal Crossing, carrying out jobs for people, gaining new blueprints, planting trees, customizing rooms, and then gradually getting more and more people into your town and then building up their houses. The MySims Kingdom game, well, that was all centered around helping King Roland to restore his kingdom. This one actually featured quests as well as some puzzles, and you were gathering up mana, that glorious magical essence elements that we're so familiar with that would then help you to build your structures. What was different here is that you could travel to different themed islands, and each one had its own challenges as well as characters, and they introduced some animal companions like the Triceratops. And MySims Kingdom really differentiated itself by providing that story experience over the first game. It felt more like a structured experience than the town building sandbox of the first. Whether or not that's a bonus, well, it's kind of up to you as a player, but I always do prefer a little more structure and reason to be doing the things I am. They're really quite quirky adventures as well, like one I seem to recall where you're trying to help a zombie who wants to spruce up his graveyard, and all the games allow you to give gifts to people and present them with items that you've created for them, as well as engage in conversation in a positive or negative way. Relationships are monitored, and improving these will benefit you in terms of receiving different rewards. I've got to be honest, for me personally, in 2024, I find this gameplay to just be a little lacking. If you really delve into the customization of furniture and things of that nature, there's some enjoyment to be had, and the Kingdoms game is definitely the preferable one for me. It all still just feels a little limited in comparison to the mainline Sims series, and it's a bit of a no-brainer comment to say that, but there's quite a bit of repetition baked into the experience. With that said, if you're someone that just enjoys a relaxed, slower paced experience, taking things one task at a time and spending loads of time customizing, you've got that here, but the controls also let it down. I give gameplay 13 out of 20, while the controls, they score 11 out of 20. Now, visually, way back in the day, the MySims games did have a few performance hiccups and stutters. This was particularly the case on the Nintendo Wii, where it also had lag and long load times, and the obvious drop in resolution across the board. Here we've got the game running at native resolution and 60 frames per second, so from performance standpoints, this is the best version we've had, at least on a Nintendo platform. I've also not noticed any real bugs or glitches, which is nice, and the previously terrible load times have been brought right down. The sound and audio is quite pleasant, although much like the simple gameplay, the soundtrack follows suit, especially when you're in the crafting menu, where a simplistic loop plays over and over again. It's not an offensive tune, but certainly you might get a little tired of it after a while. There's the classic Sims gobbledygook speech, and all of the UI and menu items do make very satisfying sounds. It's quite a polished feeling experience as you'd expect from this franchise, but for a series that thrives on customization, MySims simplicity sometimes comes as its biggest weakness. Visuals and performance, well, they're quite nice. That scores 16 out of 20. Sound and audio scores 14 out of 20. The MySims Cozy Bundle retails at £34.99. There's also a physical available, and that includes the original MySims game as well as the sequel. For those who loved them when they first came out, I'm sure you're going to enjoy the nostalgia trip, and if you're playing in handheld, you'll have a great time. Just be aware, it's very fiddly when using a controller. Gameplay wise, well, I remember the second game took about 8 to 10 hours. I can't even remember the first, probably about the same. Still 35 quid for what essentially amounts to an up-res and a slight UI change. I don't know, I guess it's not that bad, is it, considering some of the Nintendo first party re-releases, and this is for 2 games. I give value 14 out of 20. Well, I think MySims Cozy Bundle is going to be the perfect thing for a lot of kids to open on Christmas Day. And if you're an adult that has nostalgia for the game, then sure, there's nothing wrong with it, bar the slightly dodgy controls. Its simplicity is so much more evident these days with so many great sim life releases, and in many ways the Switch has become the home of some of the best. MySims, the Cozy Bundle, gets a SwitchUp score of 68%. Is this one you're going to be picking up? Are you a Cozy Games fan? Let me know in the comments, and I'll probably ignore you. No, I won't. Sorry, that's rude. Thanks to our Patreons and our members, and all of you that enjoy the content. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!